I remember hitting 1 million and I was like, holy fuck, that's crazy. And then I remember hitting like, 5 million and then 10 million, thinking like these were all like crazy numbers. And then it was just, but it was never good enough, right? Another thing that I was thinking about is my first customer that I remember for Canadian Protein. It wasn't even Canadian Protein. You've probably never even heard this story.
I've never heard the story, no.
Yeah, so before Canadian Protein, it was called TrueSupplements.com. I ended up changing the name. Maybe I'll get into when and how I changed the name a little bit later. But my first company was this guy in Windsor on Dominion. And at that point in time, I was literally the one mixing it. I was literally mixing it. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure I was even mixing it like by hand.
And you were doing this in your store, right?
No, I was doing this like in my house.
And so did you have the store at this time too?
No.
Okay, so you didn't have the store yet.
I had the website before the store. The reason why I opened the store because the website wasn't doing well.
Got it.
Then the reverse started happening. The website was picking up, and then I was restricted by the brick and mortar store. So then I sold the store.
So yeah, walk me through all the details. Walk me through like where you bought the protein, where you got the packaging, like how you put it together.
But I only want to talk about like on this segment here. I only want to talk about like my first customer because I think it's like really interesting.
Okay.
So to me, it's interesting. This was like a pivotal point that I had. So I got an order, and the order came from one of like a discussion board. So before Facebook. Facebook being, one of the first social media platforms that really popped off. Mm-hmm. This was like before Facebook was popping off. So I was promoting it on a discussion board or discussion boards like bodybuilding and fitness boards. Mm-hmm. This guy came through one of those. And I remember mixing stuff. Like I would literally have like bins and I would like mix it like by hand, which is, crazy, right? When come to thinking about where we are now.
Yeah.
I started this by like with gloves, like mixing shit, by hand. And I would bag it up, scoop it up, put it in a bag, weigh it, seal it, and then, whatever. So I did all that for this guy. Yeah. So this guy ordered a particular product. I mixed it up, I scooped it up, packaged it, put it in a box, and sealed the box. And I remember even putting on a label that I had generated to make it look like it was shipped so that he didn't think that it was like weird that there was like no shipping. It was kind of like an unmarked box. So I even did that, right? And I drove it myself over to Dominion. And it's a street. Dominion is a street in Windsor. And I remember getting it out of my trunk of my car. So at this point in time, I had a 98 Cavalier that I would make deliveries with. I'd bring all the packages, eventually after this particular package, I'd bring them all to Canada Post in my fucking Cavalier. I'd put the seats down, put them in my passenger seat. I'd fill the fucking thing up. Mm-hmm. So I remember taking this guy's box out and then like leaving it on the porch. And I remember like walking back to my car. And then when I got into my car, like, I sat there for like a second and I got like choked up a bit for two reasons. Number one, I was like, oh my God, like somebody paid me for my product that I made. This is like so pivotal, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second reason was me thinking how fucking hard this is going to be to get to where I want to go.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there thinking like, man, do I have a long ways to go.
Because it was a lot of work to manually do one order.
Exactly. And I couldn't, and I had big aspirations, but I couldn't at that point even comprehend like how I'm going to even get there based off of what I just did.
Yeah.
Where I mixed it myself. I packaged it myself.
Which product was it?
I did my own logistics myself. I delivered it, hand delivered it myself. Like every step of the way, did it right. So I remember thinking, how is this even gonna? How in the world am I gonna scale this? Because I understood the numbers. Like if I want to get to a certain point of like say revenue or whatever, and here's my margins, I have to make X amount of units. Like how the fuck for me doing that is not even. Do you remember it's not even reasonable for me to even comprehend that.
What was your first like revenue goal that you had?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. I remember hitting 1 million and I was like, holy fuck, that's crazy. And then I remember hitting like, 5 million and then 10 million, thinking like these were all like crazy numbers. And then it was just, but it was never good enough, right? It was like, it's great, 1 million, but what about like 2? And then like, what about like 5? And then what about like 10? Like, I remember thinking like, it's never like, obviously it's never as good as getting there. Right.
What was the product that you sold?
I don't remember. It was a protein. Yeah. It was probably a whey con or a whey isolate. I don't actually remember what it was, but that was like the first experience of like, story. Yeah, that was the actual first experience.